So hello everyone, in this video we are going to see painting and sculpture of the world, and then we'll see the paintings of India as well. Okay, we will see how art, painting will act like carrier of ideas and the role it will play in transforming a society. Okay, so when ideas take root into society, things change. Ideas change established ideologies. They challenge the tradition, and then the society gets refined or the ideology gets refined. Art and literature are the carriers of ideas. Societies have always been transformed by artists who have rebelled against the status quo. They are followed by philosophers coming out with an alternative idea of society. Okay, and this transformation is reflected in the literature of the times, and that is why the literature is called the mirror of the society. This is followed by scientific discoveries, inventions, and material advancement. Now, art and literature symbolizes idea and provide them a tangible form. Personification of ideas will happen through art and literature. As you can see in this figure, the whole of France was personified in Marianne. Similarly, Germany was personified as Germania. Britain was personified as Britannia, and our own country, India, was personified as Bharat Mata in 1905. Okay, so in 1905, and the person who painted Bharat Mata for the first time, the concept was there in Anand Math, but Bharat Mata got a tangible form by Avanindra Nathagor, by the painting of Avanindra Nathagor. And today we have our state emblem, the Ashokan tiger. You can see this is our state emblem. It also signifies something. The emblem represents the sovereign of India, the sovereign state of India. Okay. Now, why this emblem was chosen? So that the coming government will emulate Ashoka. So Ashoka ruled at a time when society was divided, or you can say there were many heterodox sects. There was Jainism, Buddhism, Hinduism was there, Ajivika was there. During that time, he was ruling. In the northwest, Greeks were there. Okay, so he wanted harmony between the people, and that is why he used his concept of dharma, okay, or dhamma. He propounded a theory to peaceful coexistence, and that is why you can see the map of India during Ashokan time. It is one of the largest map. Okay, and that is why Ashoka is called Ashoka the Great. Now we were coming to understand the art of Europe. So there was something called Renesa Art. What happened there? So Renesa Art, painting, sculpture, architecture, music, and literature, produced during the 14th, 15th, 16th century in Europe under the combined influence of an increased awareness of nature, a revival of classical learning, and a more individualistic view of a man. So what is happening basically? Let us understand. So initially, what is happening is there was something called divine theory of kingship. So the ruler, he gained legitimacy from that divine theory. And then what happened? He used to say, because I have divine ordained, that is why I am ruling upon you people. Okay, that was used to justify his rule. Then the center of attraction during that time, or center of any discussion, center of art, was divinity. Any painting was related to some, somehow it was related to God and goddesses. It was divine. But there will be a rebellion, and that rebellion or going back to the past and learning from the past will happen. That will be called rebirth or Renesa. Okay, where the Greek philosophers will influence influence the artist, for example. So they will be, influenced by the thought of Epicurus, Socrates, Plato, etc. So a rebirth will happen. They will challenge the divine theory of kingship, and the center focus will become human being. So that idea will be called humanism. It was the effect of social and economic change, such as the secularization of daily life, the rise of rational money credit economy, and great increased social mobility. So something called Reformation happened. Martin Luther, he was responsible for Reformation. Then Renesa happened. Then Age of Reason started. Then scientific discoveries will happen. Because of that, you can think. Before, it was not allowed to think beyond Bible. So now you can think in Age of Reason. So you will have scientific discoveries, and then modernity will come. Now, a piece of Westphalia is very important here, because during the Peace of Westphalia only, the interference of religion in personal life, it will be less, or I would say interference of state will be minimized. The state will not define which religion you should follow. Rather, an individual will define which religion he should follow. So Peace of Westphalia established a secular order by taking sovereignty over religious affairs away from the discretion of territorial princes, and by establishing a proto-liberal legal distinction between private and public affairs. Okay, so there can be a question, this is very important. And then, as I said, there will be a rebellion, very silent rebellion, that will reflect in the art of the time. Okay, now the statue of David is considered a masterpiece of humanism. So it will focus on humanism, not on divinity, on human being. The very first historic symbol of humanism, the sculpture of David, was created by Michelangelo. This is important. Around 1504. It was one of the most iconic work of the artist. The philosophy of humanism was first made public by Epicurus, who lived in Greece around 341 BC. So what was the theory? His theory was a man should not fear God. A man should not fear death either. Okay, he should live life the way he wants to live. Whatever gives him pleasure, he should do that. Okay, that was the theory. So the center of his theory was man or human. That is why humanism. And in this painting, this beauty, not painting, sculpture, it is a beautiful sculpture. You can see now today the models, they will mimic him. Okay, the models will mimic him. You can see that he is mimicked by most of the actors, by the models, etc. So this is the statue of David, which was created in 1504. And you can see the refinement in marble. As you can see, the nerves are showing. Okay, the nerves are showing here, and everything is so fine. So there is a famous quotation by Michelangelo that trifles make perfection, and perfection is no trifle. So these minute details lead to perfection, and when perfection is reached, that is no, triples make perfection, and perfection is no triple. That is not a small thing. Small thing makes perfect thing, and perfect thing is not small thing. This is the meaning. Then come to Leonardo da Vinci. Renaissance humanism, the guiding idea of Leonardo's time, valued human dignity. Human being is more important here, and education, while seeking humanity's natural place within the universe. Because he loved the world as deeply as he studied it. Leonardo's work now symbolizes his philosophy. Now here you can see, this is Last Supper. Here he tried to present Christ as a human being. Now in an era when only God and goddesses were painted, his painting self-portrait, his painting Mona Lisa, which is, with human expressions, and then his painting Vitruvian man. Vitruvian was a philosopher, Greek philosopher. He studied human anatomy. So he will paint this painting that humans are the center of universe in a way. Okay. And then come to the next phase in European painting, that is Romanticism. What is this? This will be a reaction against Industrial Revolution. So when age of reason will happen, scientific discovery will happen, then what will be there? Industrial Revolution. People will leave the countryside and will go to work in factories. Okay. So Romanticism, it was a movement in the art and literature that originated in the late 18th century, emphasizing the inspiration, subjectivity, and the privacy of individual. That is, humans, individual are more important, and it will always connect with the nature. Okay, we should not follow the industrial revolution path. We should follow nature. We should go to countryside and all. As you can see, the painting will paint countryside. So during that time only, there will be literature which will have romanticism in it. For example, A Thing of Beauty is a Joy Forever was written by John Keats. And you can see these paintings are here only. It was created in 1504 and it is giving joy to us right now also. Okay, so A Thing of Beauty is Joy Forever. It was said by John Keats. What is this life if full of tear? We have no time to stand and stare. Was written by W.H. Davis. Okay, and here you can see personification of the country started. That was also a part of Romanticism, and this is countryside. Now the next phase was realism, basically, but realism got it went because camera came into being. When you have camera, then you can create real pictures. Then there is no use of realism paintings. Okay, so there will be a rebellion. There will be a rebellion. That rebellion will be Cubism. Now, Cubic style of the 20th century, created by artist Pablo Picasso. So Pablo Picasso is considered the father of Cubism. First of all, Cubist style emphasized that flat two-dimensional surfaces of picture plane. So instead of having three-dimensional figures or the depth, it will show two-dimensional figures. Okay, rejecting the traditional realism, which I said. Cubist painters presented a new reality in paintings that depicted radically fragmented objects. So Pablo Picasso, he was basically inspired by socialism and communism, but he revolted against the policies of Stalin by his painting. This you can see. Here you can see that there are women and children and the forces are firing upon them. Okay, he is regarded as father of Cubism and one of the finest artists of the last century. Okay, so this is very important. Now come to Salvador Dali. He is also quite important because the paintings will have surreal feeling, a feeling which is not real. So this is a famous painting by Salvador Dali. This painting is called The Persistence of Memory, as if time is a fluid. As you can see, the time is, looking as a fluid. Then you have Van Gogh, he is quite famous for his painting Starry Night. Okay, and then come to two important sculptures. The first one is Knotted Gun, that is non-violence structure. It is placed at UN headquarters, New York. So non-violence is so important. Basically, war is madness. Nobody gains from a war. By killing someone, nobody gains. Okay, you will also get killed. Whenever there will be war, somebody will die from this side, somebody will die from that side. Okay, so war is not the solution to any conflict. The solution is non-violence. Okay, that is why there is Knotted Gun structure at UN headquarters. This is important. Another important thing is broken chair. This is also a sculpture which is very famous. It was for making people aware of the issue of landmines. Okay, it deals with Ottawa Convention. You can read about that. It is there in Geneva. Okay. Now, one more thing which can come is the Terracotta Army, because our PM went there few years ago. It can come. The Terracotta Army is a collection of terracotta sculpture depicting the armies of the first emperor of China. It is a form of funerary art buried with the emperor in 210 BC with the purpose of protecting the emperor in his afterlife. Okay, now come to Indian paintings. Okay, so here this painting was made by M.F. Hussain. So M.F. Hussain, Ram Manohar Lohia was a political leader. So he asked M.F. Hussain to paint the Mahabharata or bring Mahabharata to life on canvas. So M.F. Hussain did that, and he painted a series of paintings on Mahabharata. Okay, he painted a series of paintings on Mahabharata. Okay, and it is one of the painting. Now come to cave painting. We'll start from cave painting. So painting is one of the most delicate form of art, which gives expression to human thoughts, feelings through medium of line and color. When man was a cave dweller, he painted his rock shelter to satisfy his aesthetic sensitivity and creative urge. In India, the best specimen of cave painting are found at Bhimbetka Cave, which is located at MP. Okay, which is located in MP, and it is one of the UNESCO heritage site. Okay, that is also very important. And then Lakhudiyar in Uttarakhand is also quite famous for cave painting. Now come to Ajanta paintings. The Ajanta cave paintings are described as among the finest surviving example of ancient Indian art that presented emotion through gestures. As you can see, the gesture here is shown by Tribhanga pose. The body is bent at 3 positions. It is called Tribhanga pose, and it is often used in Indian motifs, art motifs. Okay, so here you can see by they are depicting emotion through gestures, pose, and form. According to UNESCO, these are masterpieces of Buddhist religious art that influenced Indian art that followed. Themes are taken from Jataka tales and life of Buddha. Most renowned painting of these caves are Avalokiteshwara Padmapani painting, which is this painting. Okay, and there was a question in UPSC about that. So there can be a question in your exam also. Okay, and it is in Tribhanga pose. That is also very important. Now come to Mughal painting. Now the Mughals were quite popular for patronizing painters. So miniature painting, although it will start from Pala period, it will become quite popular during Mughal period. Miniature paintings initially used to illustrate manuscripts. Read the Janit during the time of Jahangir. He popularized portrait art. So he is also known to popularize, he was also known to popularize portrait making. As you can see, this is a portrait of Jahangir. Okay, now features of Mughal painting were embellished borders. As you can see, the borders are quite embellished. This is one of the examples where the border is quite embellished. Okay, themes included portraits, nature, courses, wars, etc. And the colors used were very bright. Now some of the important painters were Basavan, Daswan, and Mansoor. Okay, Mansoor was famous for floral representation, and he was famous during the times of Jahangir. Now India has such a rich culture where we have not only painted humans, we have painted seasons. Okay, we have 12 seasons. So we have paintings for each and every season. These paintings capture the glory of changing seasons over 12 months, and they are called Bhara Masa painting. Okay, there is a whole, domain of painting which is called Bhara Masa painting. They will depict the changing seasons. They narrate mythic Indian romances with the lovers' undulating emotions taking into tangible dimension through the imagery of flowers in bloom or ominous rain cloud. Okay, seasons sometimes depict separation, like raining season will depict, a different feeling, and the other season depicts different feeling. As you can see here in the example, this shows Ashwin, which is a month, Magh and Fagun. Okay, so Ritu Sambhara by Kalidas is a work of literature. It is also upon season. The other example is Radha Krishna theme, that most of these paintings will have Radha and Krishna. So Geet Govind was a popular novel written during this time. That is why you will find Radha Krishna theme, and Geet Govind was written by Jaydev. This is also important. So India was so rich in the paintings that not only seasons, we also painted musical notes. They are called Ragamala painting. Now Ragamala or garland of ragas depicting variations of Indian musical modes called ragas, blending music and art in a single frame. Various ragas and their consort, they were called raganis, were personified and depicted. Personification of musical notes, ragas, was happening and they were depicted. They were given some tangible form. 6 ragas of 6 seasons were generally depicted, like Pancham Rag, you can see, and this is Rag Bhairavi. Then come to Bani Thani. This is the most important thing. There was a UPSC question on it. So one of the outstanding miniature painting of Kishangarh school, which is basically a Marwar region, is portrayal of Bani Thani, okay, which means smart and well dressed. It is said that the painting portrays a singer and poet during the reign of King Savant Singh. Okay, the painting is also referred as India's Mona Lisa. See, Indian painting will not focus upon realism. You will never find an eye which is as sharp as hers. Okay, but they will focus upon, rather than realism, they will focus on symbolism. It has symbolic beauty. Now come to Raja Ravi Verma. He will be one of the most distinguished, painter of India who will focus upon realism. His work are one of the best example of the fusion of European art, because European art during that time was centered at realism. So he fusioned that art with purely Indian iconography. He was notable for making affordable lithographs of his paintings available to public. So God and goddesses, the image of God or goddesses will reach each and every family. Okay, which greatly enhance the reach and influence as a painter and public figure. So today also you can find these paintings or similar paintings similar to these in your calendars. Okay, so his religious depiction of Hindu deities and works from Indian epic poetry and Purana have received profound acclaims. Okay, now come to now after Raja Ravi Varman, after Raja Ravi Verma, you have a famous painter called Avanindra Nathagor. He was the principal artist and creator of the Indian Society of Oriental Art. He is most famous for his painting of Bharat Mata. He painted Bharat Mata in 1905, which I discussed. He was also the first major exponent of Swadeshi values in Indian art. His art form was inspired from the art of Ajanta and Ellora, okay, thereby finding the influential Bengali school of art, which led to the development of modern Indian painting. Another name is Jamini Roy. Jamni Roy was an Indian painter. He was honored with the State Award of Padma Bhushan in 1955. He was one of the most famous pupil of Avanindra Nathagor. Roy changed the style from his academic Western training and featured a new style based on Bengali folk tradition Patua painting. You can say some of the example of him. So they are based on Patua painting. Then Abrita Shergill, she is also equally important. So she was a Hungarian Indian painter. She has been called one of the greatest avant-garde women artists of the early 20th century and a pioneer in modern Indian art. You can see some of the painting. This is a self-portrait. Okay. And then Nandalal Bose. He is very, very important. There was 1 crore question on him in KBC. The original copy of Constitution, calligraphed copies of the document, were sent to the artist Nandalal Bose and his students at Santi Niketan, who decorated each of the 22 parts with elaborate art. Here you can see this is part 3, which deals with fundamental right, and this is the painting of Ram. Okay, so he also designed the Bharat Ratna emblem, etc. Now come to M.F. Hussain. He was founding member of Progressive Artists Group in 1947. He was awarded with Padma Vibhushan. Okay, and you can see some of the paintings. Ganesha was one important theme, horse was another, Mahabharat was another. Here he is painting, Mother Teresa and Gandhi, Mao Zedong, and Einstein are there. Okay, then there was a question on S.H. Radha, so you should know about him also. So he was also a painter, and he was also the same group, that is Progressive Artist Group, which M.F. Hussain was part of. Now the theme of his painting were Bindu. Bindu means Indianness. So through Bindu or Bindi, there is Indianness in his art. And there was also triangle. Now triangle signifies Prakriti and Purusha union. Okay, that is why triangle was there. And then last year only Satish Gujral, he passed away. So the themes of his paintings are partition, and he passed away last year, so there can be a question on this. Then come to Subodh Gupta. Who is Subodh Gupta? He is a painter, but he's also a sculptor. Okay, and he uses the daily utensils in his art form. You can see this is in Germany, and he is quite well known in the country abroad. Okay, and then come to Vimal Patel. He's not an artist, but he is basically responsible for, or he's the architect of, Central Vista. Vimal Patel, the architect in charge of redesigning of Central Vista, and Ramvesh Sutar is the sculptor who designed this Statue of Unity. So he is also important. Now in architecture only we have Gothic architecture. What is Gothic architecture? These are example of Gothic architecture. Okay, and these are all UNESCO World Heritage Site. These are in Mumbai. Okay, this one and this one is in Mumbai. So it was given a status of UNESCO World Heritage Site. Now come to Jaipur. Jaipur was founded in 1727 by Jai Singh II, the ruler of Amer, after whom the city is named. It was one of the earliest planned cities of modern India, which was designed by Vidyadhar Bhattacharya. So this name is important. A person from Bengal is going to Jaipur and basically designing Jaipur. Okay. Now come to old Parliament building. So we are going to have a new Parliament. Originally called the House of Parliament, is was designed by the British architect Sir Edwin Lutyens. So this is your Parliament building, the Central Hall of Parliament building, and Sir Herbert Baker in 1912-13. Herbert Baker also designed the South Block. This is your image of South Block, which is part of Rashtrapati Bhavan, you can say, or near to Rashtrapati Bhavan. Now come to Le Corbusier. Now Chandigarh was also given the status, the monument designed by Le Corbusier was given the status UNESCO World Heritage status, and these are some of the examples. Okay, so these are at Chandigarh. Then the city was designed by Le Corbusier. Now come to folk and tribal arts. Now first you have Pichai painting. It is a painting of Nathwada in Rajasthan. Pichai painting is an art form that has its root in Rajasthan and more precisely in Nathwada. Pichai means at the back. So the painting is hung at the back of the image of, Krishna. Pichai means at the back, so they are hung behind the idol of Srinathji, a local form of Krishna, and the center of Pushti mark. So, there was a question in UPSC about Pushti mark. Okay, so it is a center of Pushti mark worship, and this was made popular by Vallabhacharya. Okay, and depicts the Leelas of Krishna. So the Leelas of Krishna will be depicted in these paintings. Now there is something called Kalamkari painting. Kalamkari is a type of hand-painted cotton textile produced in the Indian state of Andhra Pradesh. Only natural dyes are used in Kalamkari, which involves 23 steps. Okay, the style owes its present status to Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay. She is quite important, and I have discussed about her a lot many times, who popularized the art as the first chairperson of All India Handicraft Board, okay, which was disbanded a few years ago. The All India Handicraft Board was disbanded. Okay. Then you have Patachitra painting. It is a scroll painting from Odisha. Patachitra is one of the ancient artwork of Odisha, originally created for ritual use and as a souvenir for pilgrims to Puri, as well as other temples in Odisha. Patachitra are a component of an ancient Bengali narrative art, originally serving as a visual device during the performance of a song. Okay, then come to Madhubani painting. Madhubani art is a style of Indian painting practiced in Mithila region of the Indian subcontinent. This painting is done with a variety of tools, including fingers, twigs, brushes, nib pen, and matchsticks, and using natural dyes and pigments. It is characterized by its eye-changing geometry and pattern. Okay. Now this painting is very important because it recently got GI tag, and there can be a question on this. This is Soharai and Kohar painting. So it is a mural art traditionally practiced by women in Hazaribagh district of Jharkhand. Traditionally used to decorate the hut walls, it is also done on paper and cloth so that it may be sold to patrons. Soharai art is done at Soharai or harvest festival. It is done in color. Kohvar painting is done at wedding. So Soharai and Kohvar are two forms of the same painting. Kohvar paintings is done at wedding in black and white, and Soharai is done during the harvest festival. This is the difference between Soharai and Kohvar painting. Now come to tribal art. For that, we have something called TriFed. Now, what is TriFed? The full form of TriFed is Tribal Cooperative Market Development Federation of India. It's a national level cooperative body under the administrative control of Ministry of Tribal Affairs, Government of India, in order to empower the downtrodden tribal community. It started the procurement of tribal art and craft items firstly in 1999 through its outlet called Tribes India. So it has an outlet called Tribes India. Now some of the yojanas or schemes for tribal people are Vandhan Yojana, Vandhan Samajik Duri Jagrukta Abhiyan, which is supported by UNICEF for social distancing, and Tech for Tribal scheme. Now come to tribal painting. So this was a question, there was a question about Jangra Singh Syam, okay, or there was a question, that to which art form he belongs. He belongs to Gondi art. So we'll discuss that. First we'll discuss worldly art. So this is example of worldly painting, where you have stick-like symbolic description of human beings. Worldly art, worldly painting is a form of tribal art, mostly created by the tribal people from the north of Maharashtra. Jivya Somamase popularized the art form. So, who popularized Jivya Somamase? This name has not been asked yet. So, this name can come in the examination. There is high chance. He died in 2018. So, that is also important. And Gondi art. Gond paintings are a form of tribal art that is practiced by Gond tribes of Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Orissa. Okay, and then there is Sohrai painting. Sohrai paintings are integral part of religious ceremony of Sohrai tribes or tribals and are found in southern Orissa. Now come to Bhil art. The Bhil are large tribe community residing in central India, that is MP. They can trace their ancestry to Eklavya and Valmiki, who they say was actually from their community. These paintings were traditionally painted on walls of their huts, and the themes were centered on Mother Nature. They used a pattern of dots. This is very important because you are going to get confused. So just remember, Bhil will focus upon dots pattern to fill in their painting and are surprisingly similar to Australian Aboriginal art. Everything connected with Bhil life is painted. Everything connected with Bhil life is painted. Then you have Gond art, which I saw Jivya Somamase. So then you have Gond art. The Gond are largest Adivasi community in India, or one of the largest. Okay, inhabited. They are also in central India. Gond paintings can be described as one line work, online work. So there you had dots, here you have lines. Okay, art is created out of carefully drawn lines. Lines are used in such a way to convey a sense of movement to still images. Because their lines, they will convey a sense of movement. Dots and dashes are added to impart a greater sense of movement and increase the amount of detail. Another very striking facet of gold painting is use of bright vivid color such as white, red, blue and yellow. Then you have Muria art. Muria painting are originally from Bastar, Chhattisgarh. Every painting depicts the traditional tribal ritual. Most of the painting are related to the celebration of their customary ceremony. The Muria are an Adivasi of Bastar district of Chhattisgarh. They are part of Gondi people. It is very much similar to worldly painting, which is this and which we saw just now. Okay. Then you have regional folk art, you can say. One of the important folk tradition is Pandavani. Tijanbai, an exponent of Pandavani, is an exponent of Pandavani. She is Tijanbai. It is a traditional performing art form from Chhattisgarh in which she enacts tales from Mahabharata with musical accomplishment. Then Dokra art is also quite famous. It is metallic art. It is non-ferrous metal art. Most famous Dokra art are from Bastar region. Okay. So in our next video, we are going to see some very important facts which can come in the examination about cinema. Okay. So thank you. Thanks for watching. If you want to enroll to my courses, you can contact me on in the number given below in the description. So thank you. Thanks again. And if you find this video useful, you can share it.